of course, that got sidelined when I found out that the new Pokemon expansion came out.
Oh yeah, I knew that was gonna sideline you for a little bit. Not even sideline you, but I knew that it was gonna be something that wrapped up your attention. I know that most of the guys out here, you kind of have to pull teeth to get them interested in Pokemon again. Though I was curious about playing it myself because it looks really good, and from the people that I know have played it, and I haven't got your opinion on it yet, but people that I know who've been playing it, they fucking love it. They're just like eating the shit. They said it makes it easier to do literally everything.
It more or less does, yeah. Like, it feels like it's like this should have been in the main game, to be quite honest. But like, because the biggest problem is that so back when we did our Pokemon podcast, I talked about like having a place where where you can meet up with people and catch Pokemon together. And this max raid adventure, like that dungeon, these mini dungeons, are probably the best thought out example that I can think of that concept.
Okay.
Because instead of having the problem where you bring in your own Pokemon and they're overpowered as shit, and you just keep wiping these bosses over and over again, instead you just get randomly generated Pokemon that are adequate enough to take on the challenges that you encounter.
Okay, so they scale it for you, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's no like item management other than your Pokeballs. So it's like it's very easy to pick up and put down.
Okay.
Like any team-based casual thing should be. And it has so many benefits, even if you get all the way to the end and don't beat the final boss, because it is slightly challenging.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are always getting rewarded for stuff, the fact that the last thing you fight is always going to be this like super legendary. It has just a lot of stuff that like makes picking up Pokemon for 20 minutes and going online with your friends fun.
That's what's up.
The max raids themselves, like the ones that came with the game, just weren't that. It was fun for like the first month, but it almost felt like in MMOs when you have your raid time, where you just set aside an hour to do these raids over and over again. Whereas this one feels a lot more casual fun.
Yeah, I can tell the way it kind of like you mentioned the ability to kind of pick it up and go, and at like a drop of a hat is like something that I find very appealing about most of those sort of team-based games. Like when I play Rocket League or Overwatch or Valorant or whatever, like a game where it's like you just want to, or even League of Legends, even though that game is inherent time sink. But like, not like those others aren't. But the ability to kind of just drop in, play, like you can see that with Rob playing Call of Duty. Like isn't not inherently like team based, but he plays team based as a lot of people play team based in Warzone and Fortnite or whatever. But it's like the ability just to drop in, play, have that gratification and that succinct experience is something I think that most games should embrace, because it's fun and it makes things more accessible.
And what's really nice is that it kind of balances, like you get a lot of resources that can go to the items that make the grind aspect, if you did want to get into the competitive aspect of Pokemon, that make that grind a lot, I wouldn't say a lot easier, but a lot less frustrating.
Yeah.
I won't get into the details too much, but like there was just a couple things I saw that was like, this is really nice. It's a shame it took nearly a year to come out, but
yeah, I know, right?
Jesus, a year and $30, but like, it's good. Like I had a fellow commentator, Thomas Winkley. He was like, yo, he just tweeted me one morning. He's like, yo, you up? You want to do a couple raids? And I was like, yeah, sure. And we just killed like an hour while he was streaming, just like shooting the shit. Like we weren't even focusing that hard on the game itself.
Yeah.
We were just like talking about how Capcom Cup Pro Tour is going and stuff like that.
That's
but
cool.
Like, shooting the shit. What was weird, not to talk too long about this, but what was weird is that, so despite this being an RPG, if you disconnect from your teammates, what happens is that you just keep adventuring with AIs instead of teammates.
That
So
sounds pretty functional. Is that good
I
for
mean,
you?
it's functional, but it doesn't tell you that you disconnected.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, that's weird.
So midstream, I was like, "Yeah, we beat the boss," and they're like, "Wait, what? We did?" And I'm like, "Wait, you guys did?" And
Just
so
me? Just me?
it's just me. Oh, okay. And it makes for a really weird experience because it's not signaled in that regard.
Yeah, it's an odd choice.
Yeah. But honestly, if you were just kind of hum-ho about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and you don't mind spending the additional $30 on DLC, I think it's with all the amount that was added is worth the $30, but it should have been part of the base game. But whatever, we're past that at this point. So if you just want to pick it up again, I would say the max raid adventures, which are available from the get-go. There's no story that you have to do. You just you can just get it from the moment go, and they're definitely worth it. So definitely check that shit out.
Well, I'm glad you've been having fun.
Yeah.
But shit, this is a long intro, Cap. But welcome to the Otaku Remix Podcast. What is up, internet? Yeah, Jesus, I was like, I know I'm forgetting to do something. It's your boy Brando and Christopher House. Chris, we know what you've been doing. So,
Yeah.
but how are you?
I'm doing all right, man. I haven't been catching up as much anime as I wanted to, but this week is going to be, for me, Hulu week, because I had a craving to rewatch some of Archer, and that's the only way to find it. So I was like, oh, let me see what
Whatever
Hulu's got
works,
to
man.
offer. And so I have 2 shows on the docket to go over from Hulu.
I could have shown
So
you
that
more.
should be interesting.
Could have shown you more nefarious ways to find Archer, but I appreciate you indulging capitalism.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I like it on my mobile phone. What can I say?
on your mobile
I,
phone,
wa-
not,
I watch like everything on my mobile phone.
not
It's
your
basically
home
how I
phone, but
live.
your mobile phone.
My mobile phone, yes.
Yeah.
Just imagine picking up your rotary phone and like spinning the dial of like www dot
X videos.
X videos. What are we, fucking poverty kings here?
Yes. Oh man. Anyway, but yeah, I'm glad you're gonna get some anime indulgence in. But we will see. We just want to talk again what we've been watching lately. I know that. Have you been watching? I'm asking. Obviously not anybody else. But I don't know how I had to specify that. But I think it's called like When I Became God or When You Became God.
No, I have
Okay.
not.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, wait. Is that what we talked about last week?
Maybe.
Shit.
Is it?
It was the show where the world's ending and there's the girl that's like, I'm Odin. And
Oh, that might
shit
be
like
it,
that.
possibly. I don't know.
Yeah,
All I know
that's
is
the
that
show.
I was rewatching How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Love because I never finished it, as I
Okay.
told you. And on the Funimation queue, I saw that, and I was like, wonder what that is. And that was earlier today,
yeah.
so I was like, I'll just ask Chris.
No, that's the show I talked about last week. So
okay,
thanks for listening.
I'll have to give it a check out, so I just wanted to double check.
No,
so.
you don't. You really don't.
Okay.
It's a really mediocre anime. But
All
anyway,
good.
continue on.
Well, we're talking about anime that you won't watch or that I won't watch, so I'll recommend something that you won't watch. I told you also that I'm rewatching, or not rewatching, but beginning from this anime season in the fall, Dragon Quest. The new Dragon Quest was a Dino Daiboken anime, and I know that you haven't played a lick of Dragon Quest, so this shouldn't interest you at all. But it might. It was one of those spur of the moment picks that I kind of did when I was kind of surfing through the simulcast this season. And I'm more happy to kind of go ahead and jump into anything because summer was so thin because of all the COVID related delays, amongst other reasons. So summer just kind of felt like pretty light, and because it was. So the wealth of things to watch in the fall season has me just like, oh, well, might as well check it out since, we have something to choose from. And I was recollected to the moment where I decided to watch the Dragon Quest movie with our friend Jeremiah. Dragon Quest Your Quest, I think it's called, is the subtext for that. And having an interesting time watching that, so I'm like, sure, let's give it a shot. And it's been pretty fun. I mean, I've only watched the pilot, and it is as stereotypical and I don't know, as close to a shonen template as one could get.
Okay.
Like,
so here's the thing. Like,
yeah.
Dragon Quest, from what I'm aware of, is usually all the games are usually centered around like a stereotypical fantasy RPG setting where you're a male protagonist and you just go and collect party members, and each party member is kind of like the basis for a certain arc in the story, and then you go across different towns and then solve a bigger catastrophe overall. It's similar to the Final Fantasy series, but just with a different tone to it and a different art style to it.
It is as like storybook as it gets. Like, the story for this one wastes no time in establishing that, as most Dragon Quest do. It's like, there was a Dark Lord and a hero, and the hero vanquished the Dark Lord, who I think has an even bigger Dark Lord behind him, but we're not going to get into that. But then and then there was a boy who was whisked away to an island of monsters. The monsters, after the Dark Lord left, the monsters became docile and innocent, and they raised this boy, who is your protagonist, who is going to be the new hero. And as far as the intro is concerned, he's going to make some friends. So it looks like he's going to make a friend who shoots magic, and another friend who has a magic gun, and a pretty girl, and all this other crap. And the first episode is pretty interesting because it kind of like inverts the hero stereotype, because he like a sort of faux hero group, I should say, like imposter heroes come to the village, or to come to his island, and we're like, we just gotta fucking body some monsters and people will love us. And they do. And well, the monsters are basically innocent, and the hero kid doesn't take too kindly to that, so he gets equipped with a sword, which I assume came with the boat that he came on. I don't know, it just shows up.
It came with the instructions manual.
It came with the instructions of being a hero. He was raised by like Grandpa Brass, like this one brass enemy. Honestly,
oh my god,
and like he's funny, and not Pokeballs, because Jesus Christ, he has like these capsules that can capture like monsters.
My god,
and, and resummon them, and I'm like, whoa, okay. But no, it's honestly, for all it's sort of, I don't want to just explicitly call it unoriginality, because it's like, at this point, is like reverence to like a sort of classic Japanese RPG template.
Yeah,
but it's like
specifically the Dragon Quest one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's very keyed in.
I mean, they use all of the monster designs.
All the monster. Right? It's like, you know, if you want like a very normal, by the books storybook hero story. I could have said story and book more in that sentence, but in general, it's like, it's not offensive to me in the way that normally something that seems very repetitive and homogenized is. For as repetitive and homogenized as this could possibly come off to somebody, I feel like it's sort of like the perfect sort of comfort show for someone who likes this stuff. Like, this
is what we call an easy watch.
Yeah, it's super relaxed.
You put it on, you maybe do your taxes in the background, or like have dinner or something. You don't let it. No, but I mean, like, it's a show that, like, again, you can just put in the background and you don't really pay attention to it too much, and like something occasionally will catch your eye and you'll look up and be like, huh, and then you'll return to what you should be doing at the moment, just so that you don't feel like life is a miserable existence and yada yada.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I literally saw that as a category when I was going through Hulu. I shit you not, easy watch, and I was like, huh.
This is definitely,
it makes
qualifies.
Sense.
Yeah.
An easy watch feels like a borderline category for us, where it's like some easy watches are just terrible because we force ourselves to watch this and we're like trying to get content out of them. But some of them you're just trying to you're just watching in the background, and that's okay.
It's not a bad thing, honestly. I mean, it's not like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm sorry, I know I'm cutting you off a lot.
You're fine.
When I talk to people who are like fans of anime style, but they don't want to like watch intensely, they enjoy having it in the background when they're like labbing stuff in a fighting game, or they're like, you know, doing another hobby that can become boring or repetitive. They kind of like having that stuff in the background, and then they call it really good because, you know, it's their popcorn and shit. So like, I get it, there's an audience for that.
In general, like for myself, I'm in that boat too. Like, not as a consistent thing. Like, usually I want something, if I'm sitting down, committing time to entertainment, I usually want it to be meaningful or novel or insightful in some capacity. But it's like occasionally, yeah, like you want something that can, like, passive entertainment definitely has value.
Oh yeah.
And this is definitely, I feel like it's borderline that for sure. Like I could see someone who like probably
it's borderline valuable.
It's borderline passive. Like I could say like there's
okay.
enough there for someone to like really like lock in and be engaged. But I feel like that person would have to be like really tapped into either their inner child or be a child. But it's,
I mean, and it even has that nostalgic factor of like
he's
capturing the monsters, and the monsters are like the iconic thing of Dragon Quest. So I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, in general though, like production wise, it's pretty. Like it's actually pretty competent 3D animation in there. Toei Animation does it, so obviously one of like the biggest studios out there. Like they be doing like One Piece and whatnot, and honestly, some really good. Like again, I watched the pilot, so there's probably a healthy chunk of budget put in there for that episode always, but it looked fairly competent, like impressive in some places.
Oh so, yeah, I mean it's Square Enix, right? They're the license holders.
They are, yes, they are the producers and owners of the Dragon Quest IP.
It's gonna have that money behind it.
Yeah, for sure. No, this definitely has pockets behind it. If you get Toei, then you already know this is like a big property in some capacity. Somebody's gonna remember this. There was a Nintendo DS game that was, you played as a slime, but it was a slime. You played as a slime in the midst of tank battles. Like you had these giant mecha style tanks that would fight each other on the top half of the screen, and the bottom half was where you were like the mechanic fixing all the shit inside and going outside to grab materials to bring back inside to throw shit in, and like you would like use crap you find on the outside to like throw into your cannon and bombard the other people. So I need to look up the name of that. When you said slime tank battles, I thought like we were going in like an Advanced Wars situation.
No.
And then you said fixing the shit on the inside, and I'm like, okay, you lost me.
Yeah, no, it is like I should not have described it as tanks. Think of like Mecha Godzilla.
Oh,
where like
okay.
You have two Mecha Godzillas standing aside on top, next to one another.
My mental image just changed
across
drastically
from one another, and you're just like this little slime just rolling around, and like you would buff your roll speed to like get shit faster and stuff like that. I need to look up the name of this because it's just like
definitely
sparking
not what I was
me.
imagining at first.
It's so weird, and it was such a weird one-off game. But it was Monster Hunter. It was definitely part of that whole IP, I suppose, or that brand.
Okay.
I'm gonna look into definitely this. Interesting. Yeah, well, while you look into that, I'm gonna keep on the discussion of slimes, because one of the shows that I watched one episode of, it's on Hulu and it's on the simul streams, and it is called By the Grace of the Gods. This is an isekai, and Jesus Christ, is it boring. It is about from the first episode, is about an 11-year-old boy who survives in the wilderness with incredibly strong magic and the ability to control slimes, which may sound familiar to a couple people.
It might.
It might. And he was an office worker in a past life who died tragically. So that's why he was reborn as a smallish child with the power to control slimes.
Naturally.
And and I'm just watching it, and I'm just like, oh boy, this is like I was doing stuff in the background and I was still getting bored by it. It was so bad. Like the style, I can't tell if it's like the production level is like made me feel like it was back in the Pokemon era of animation where it's like super stiff, and like the edges of the world seem like they didn't get colored in, where it's just like white page, you know what I mean? It's like It's like that storybook kind of vignette.
That can have its sort of aesthetic to it.
Right, but it's like it's not like there's much going on in the center of the screen either, and like all the voice acting's really like dull, and oh man, and even the Japanese is really simple. Like I was starting to understand it, like I was catching on to basic phrases, and I was like, what the hell is this? So it might be a show for children, I don't know, but like it was very strange, to say the least, especially because it had that isekai element. In the first half, it was like, no, I'm just 11 and my parents aren't around, and, you know, I just live with these slimes, and these are the different kinds of slimes. But then it goes into his whole backstory about being an office worker that gets overworked and then, like, dies in his sleep because he has a brain aneurysm. So I'm like, this is not for children. So I don't know who this is for. But or maybe the children are hardcore in Japan. I don't know. But like, point being, it's very bad. Don't watch it.
Disclaimer.
It's disclaimer. It's real rough. It's probably the worst thing I've seen that we've talked about on this show.
Damn.
Despite like in terms of like having no redeeming value at all.
I feel like
maybe
we have a collection.
isekai cheat magician.
Yeah,
but I don't know if we ever talked about that, because I feel like we lost some episodes that talked about isekai cheat magician.
We have a bucket probably at this
point. We might
point.
even lose this episode just because I brought it up.
No. We have like a bucket of like isekai dog shit that we hate, and like we throw in there. We throw things like By the Grace of the Gods, and Isekai Cheat Magician, and The Wise Man's Grandchild.
Oh my god, The Wise Man's Gravechild.
And a bunch of other...
Oh, I forgot.
And we just keep throwing shit in there. And I'll throw one more in there while I'm at it. But it's not that bad, the one I'm about to mention. Honestly, okay. It's borderline competent. But before I say it, I'll say that like I feel like with the resurgence of like a fully fledged anime season with fall after like the thinned out summer, I feel like we may have forgotten how much garbage isekai that we kind of like wade through just to see if it's any good happened.
Oh yeah.
And like now that we're back in the fall and like things are full again and we get to see how bad in a volume content wise like the animations that studios in Japan are shitting out. It's like, why did we like let this continue to happen? Like, but it's whatever. But
we thought you would have died in the pandemic.
Yeah, basically is what I'm trying to allude to. But the one I'm mentioning is I'm Standing on a Million Lives.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
now,
I saw this.
Standing on a Million Lives.
I didn't see the show. Sorry.
Is not the worst thing I've ever watched, and
okay.
It is definitely, you know, your very standard brand of isekai where it's like high school boy just happens to be whisked away midday in class to another world. And it kind of tries to play off of a little bit of a darker edge to the isekai situation where like you're gonna die if you don't fucking finish this quest with your friends. But like he's with these two other girls in his class who are like very amped to be here. They're like, yes, we are having so much fun, you know, playing this game, even though we might die. And it's like, word. Okay. Honestly though, and then he gets real edgelord about it too, because he's like, by the end, like he ends up in a dire situation, not like having to basically outline the entirety of the thing. Like, quick synopsis: basically, you have to get slotted into basically a class, and the sort of NPC that sets you up in this world spins a Wheel of Fortune-esque situation so that he can select his class. And like there's a very small sliver, like 1 in 1 million like situation where you get like non-fighter classes, and he got that and he ends up as a farmer, and he's like, motherfucker. And so he ends up as a farmer. His homies basically get like MIA, like they can't fight in the quest that they're trying to do. They have to basically kill this ogre or orc situation, and it's not going south. So, and so he has to fight solo. And then in this moment, he's like, you see him go hard body edgelord in the way he's like, doesn't matter how fucked up this situation is, it's more exciting than anything in real life anyway.
Oh my God. The thrill.
Yeah, basically he goes hard into like the thrill. Anyway. But
I've never felt a tension like this before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he goes full ocelot on it. And he he doesn't throw one of those out.
Nah.
But it's cute, it's fun for some of the moments, and it does get the job done. And I feel like for anybody, it's like maybe like 10% more original than the average isekai. And that's probably enough for most people to kind of get by. Like for me, I don't really see the huge novelty of certain isekai hits these days, like Shield Hero and such.
Yeah, Shield Hero was. Oof,
like you and I, you were much more anti Shield Hero than I am.
I had that punk moment in my life where I'm just like, this is popular, fuck this.
Yeah, you're very like
it's not really fair,
but you're like, this is whatever. I don't care if people like it. Like,
I was just I was focusing too hard on its negatives, to be quite honest. But they do still exist.
For sure.
They're just not as terrible as
you're cold on that. I'm lukewarm, and other people are like scorching hot. Like we go to I go down talking 10 minutes down the road, and all of a sudden I got like Jeremiah and Plural like that shit is fucking banging. Like, and I'll be like, and so it's to each their own. Like I'm not gonna shame anybody if they like.
No, you don't understand. See, even though she's 8, she's actually 18.
Oh my god, I can't talk about that
because levels are ages, right?
Oh my god. But yeah, like Standing on a Million Lives is like right on the edge of that Isekai Wastebasket that we've been filling up over the years, and it's like I want to go in, but not yet, like
the Isekai Wastebasket. I like that a lot.
So it's one of those things that I threw into the watch list just to try and like be honest about the season, because you never know. Like there's shit that like we always see at every season that I look at the thumbnail and I'm like, this can't be something that I enjoy. But I've kind of like over the months that we've done this, it's like I've really kind of worn down that barrier in my mind down, because it's like, one, I gotta know one way or another, honestly, at this point when we're talking about it, and two, it's like there are pleasant surprises, like the like Misfit from Demon King Academy from last season. That was a pleasant surprise in my opinion, where it's like, oh, this is so stupid it's funny, or it's just funny, and things like Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Senpai. That's always going to be one where I'm like, I was not expecting this to be anything competent.
You watch that and you're like, I gotta try everything now.
Yeah, it's like now I really don't have any say about things looking like shit from the title and or thumbnail. But
yeah, it's like the bad kid in school that is actually a star student, and you're like, oh, I gotta give them all a chance now.
Yeah, it's like it's so hard.
It's so hard.
But one thing I did regret actually trying.
Go on.
From the season was the Dragon Dogma. It's not from this season, but in general in the last few weeks, the Dragon Dogma anime.
Okay, now
Netflix.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. So now, are you a fan of the original Dragon's Dogma?
I have played, not to completion, but I played a few hours into the original Dragon's Dogma game, which was very competent, super fun. Honestly, from a mechanical standpoint, the narrative is so. I was kind of upset because I felt like it was an evolution / like improvement in some ways to the Dark Souls sort of formula, or at least a very fun variant.
Interesting.
And
because I heard it was closer to like DMC cross Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it definitely has like, I think it definitely harkens to those.
It was the
DMC
guys who made it.
I believe so. Yeah. It was a Capcom thing, and in general, it definitely had much more speed to it, which is what I like about Nier? Not Nier. Crap. What's the white dude in Japan? Neo, thank you. Yeah, Neo. Yeah, white. Yeah, Geralt in Japan. Situation. That game is
who's
like
the white dude in Japan?
Who's the white dude?
They're called weeaboos.
Brando. God. No, Neo.
You should know.
The reason I bring up Neo is like a fun action variant of Dark Souls. I feel like it's from the Teen Ninja guys, I believe, and it's much more movement, much more speed in it. I feel like than the Dark Souls series. But I digress. We're kind of pulling off for a little bit. So Dragon's Dogma, I enjoyed playing the game. I was only disappointed that the multiplayer wasn't like as engaged as Dark Souls or Monster Hunter, or basically any game where it's like you can only really send like, I forget what they're called, like echoes or ghosts, basically.
Right.
Like,
it didn't have a team mechanic. You had your servants.
Yeah.
You had your mind slaves. We're just gonna call them what they are.
But no direct play with no direct play.
Yeah, exactly. But and you could raise them, and your friends could use the same mind slaves that you had, and then they would bring back gifts or something. I remember the diagnostics. Excuse me. I remember the review that Zero Punctuation did a decade ago.
But it was still a very fun experience in general.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, they made an anime of it. I'll give it a shot at least. And don't. It's that's crap. That's shit.
Yeah.
That's terrible writing, animation all the way through.
It's fully 3D, right?
It's basically, yeah. And
I wonder if it's the same guys who did the Godzilla anime.
The only thing worse I've probably seen this year is Ghibli 8. And Ghibli 8 is definitely like 100% the worst thing I've seen. So you don't want to be within the sniffing distance of that, but it gets close. So yeah, definitely don't want to give you.
Can you point out it's not even like funny bad. It's just like sledge.
It's
bad,
just
right?
like terrible paced writing.
Yeah,
and this shit animation quality. That's all you need to see. As soon as you walk into this anime, it's like everyone knows no one enjoys watching the shit 3D anime. You know, because like there's more of them out thanks to Netflix, and like also good ones thanks to Netflix. Like we'll watch it like Dorohedoro, and it's like okay, that's fun, you know. Like
that's fantastic. Beastars, there have been fantastic,
amazing like, elements of 3D in new animes. Like there's 3D elements in Baki remake where they have that played up, and that's pretty competent. And like there's other ones that I'm probably forgetting, moving in, but. This is not one of them. This is like Berserk 2016 animation. It's like it's nothing you want to be a part of from a visual element, and then the writing doesn't have anything to do to compensate it. So I'll leave it at that because I don't want to give it screen time.
You don't want to give it any more screen time. It's kind of a shame because I feel like Dragon's Dogma has had this weird lasting legacy. It's
like untapped potential. Yeah.
Not even like because it had the expansion and then the two got bundled together and ported to PS4 and Steam, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Granted, that's the Capcom specialty, but nonetheless, they definitely have pushed this series, I think, as much as they can. But like, yeah, it just doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Maybe it didn't take off in the West. Maybe it's something that only bopped off in the East. That's something I think a lot of series kind of felt like trapped in the bubble of like the Japanese market. Like they definitely know how to key into their own. I mean, that was Monster Hunter for years, for decades. Like it was just slaying it year after year in Japan on domestic sales, and then just could never really pop in Europe or in the West. Like there was just like underground motherfuckers like me playing like Monster Hunter 1 on PlayStation 2 until, you know, the current, and then eventually
I feel like it always translates to Europe though, because it's like, because the same thing happens with like Animal Crossing, but like Animal Crossing like destroys Europe every time it comes out.
Yeah.
And Japan. Like it's weird how that correlates between the two of them. But
yeah, it definitely had seeds of you know, fandom over there, Monster Hunter as in. But you know, obviously it didn't have that global pop or like we're getting movies until Monster Hunter World came out, which I was very happy to see. Not only because I enjoyed the game, but because I'm glad to see the appreciation for the series as a whole, because like it was starting to catch that traction again, or catch traction with the mobile market, because I mean that's where it's lived for a majority of its life. Monster Hunter has lived on mobile, on, you know,
3DS,
PSPs, 3DSs, etc., DSs, and whatever, through most of the games in the series, and then all of a sudden mainstay console Monster Hunter, first one really since, I mean, like Tri was technically on the Wii, but like no one gave a fuck about Tri, even in like, I don't even think so, like that much in Japan. But and you could have played Tri Ultimate in your Wii U, but again, no one really gives a fuck about that.
I would love to see the sales numbers for Tri, because I bet you they are ludicrously high, because it was on the fucking Wii, man. Like that shit sold.
I mean, I participated. I bought it. But
yeah, like, I know. The legacy, sure, the history of Tri may not be glamorous, but I'm sure Nintendo remembers it on its bank statements.
Oh, for sure. They're like, there's a reason that they cut in on that. Like, you know, for the longest time, Sony had the market on that. Like, for most of the games existed on PSP, and then like when they transitioned to the next generation, they're like, Vita don't look like it gonna cut the bill, so we're gonna have to find.
No, I mean, yeah, they have to find a new home. Oh, you don't have an analog stick? That's fine. Well,
we'll figure it out. And they did by getting an analog stick.
Well, they barely did.
They're like, we'll do this. We'll make a fucking whole new 3DS XL.
Did you ever see anybody with that attachment that gave the old 3DS the analog stick?
Yes, I have. Yes, I
It
have.
it was like the ThumbPad Pro, right?
Yeah, it's garish. It
Like
looks
that.
ugly.
It is so disgusting. That being said, I was a 2DS holder, so
yeah, I bought the 3DS XL Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate Edition 3DS.
Oh my god!
Like, so obviously, um, because I had bought a Vita, so I was like trying to make that work for myself.
Yeah.
And at the time, when at launch for both of them, both software libraries were not terribly impressive. So it was like, it'll fill itself out, you know,
Right.
and it didn't. And the 3DS did. Like, I mean, there were some like nice little gems on the Vita. Like,
Oh yeah.
there was Freedom Wars, and I had a lot of fun playing Tearaway and Gravity Rush, and like there was definitely some good games. And honestly, like in the same vein of Nintendo Land or Wii Sports, there is basically a collection of mini games that comes with your Vita to basically exercise the functions on it, like the back touchpad, the front touchpad, and like the sound and also the stuff that are actually quite fun. And I found myself many a day using those, like in between like bus rides or wherever the hell I was. But yeah,
but it didn't have it didn't have the killer apps that
it didn't get it didn't get a killer
but
software
at the same time,
all.
I feel like the Vita was the proto Switch. It really was, where it was
like you could play it both.
The way I used it, at least, because like the games I played on it were not the AAA titles, but they were like occasionally you would get one that would almost be AAA. I'd have to, you know what, Persona 4 Golden, I would say it was close to AAA for that console, but like you would play the PS1, not remakes, but the PS1 ports that you could get on there. You would play all these indie games that sure you could get on Steam, but at the same time it worked just as well on the Vita, so like might as well. And there was Gravity Rush, and like it was just this little niche product that like, it didn't have the power to like run the highest intensity graphics on the market.
It kind of did, because near the end,
but for its size, yes, for its size,
it was like playing PS3 games on it. Like you were playing that new Sly
like
Cooper game.
Dog shit. It played like dog shit on there.
No, some of them I saw run pretty well. I mean, but in general, I understand the concept that you kind of that you laid out, where it's like a proto Switch, where it's like it could play something like a full console game on the go, so to speak. Obviously, it wasn't like fully equipped to do so, but for what it was, like mechanically, it's definitely designed to be more powerful than the 3DS. But it just,
definitely,
it never takes advantage of it to the fullest capability, and
I don't think it didn't take advantage to it. I just think that it was just out of its depth in terms of its audience. Like,
oh yeah, like
there were just not enough. If you're a hardcore gamer, you're either on the laptop or you're usually with a laptop or a computer or a console. You're not really the handheld one. And the hardcores that want a handheld want a Nintendo handheld.
Yeah, it wasn't
because
like
they have all the properties.
Yeah, it wasn't leveraging that power in the market. Yeah, it wasn't like utilizing it. Like this is like, or it was getting any dividends off of that additional processing power, etc., etc. But yeah, no, it was fun. Damn, how the did we get here off of Dragon's Dogma? Anyway,
I don't know. I think we started talking about Monster Hunter and it just went from there.
Possibly,
but
that was a hell of a tangent.
Fine.
Back to anime for a little bit.
This is a podcast. It's meant to be tangents. It's fine.
This is true. One thing I wanted to mention. I know that you had asked me, what are some comings and goings in the anime industry, or like what have you? And one thing that I saw mentioned on a Mother's Basement video, which I think was actually worth mentioning here from a content standpoint, was the new anime making system project, which is a very catchy name, but it is at least straight to the point. It's from the people who've done the Anime Dormitory project, and it's like it's basically a system or a project for new animators in the anime industry. Obviously, inherently, and I don't know how many people out there listening know, but animators in the anime industry get treated like shit. Like terrible. Not only the literal working conditions.
It's worse than the video game industry.
Oh,
where it's a lot of basically freelance artists that are treated like day-to-day workers without benefits. It's really, really terrible.
And the pay,
or it can be really terrible.
Yeah, and the pay is at the center of what was the Anime Dormitory project, where it's like, for the average salary for those guys starting in their first 5 years is like around $800 a month, which like equals out to like a salary of like basically like $850, which is like yes, you know, in America, like $850 salary.
Well, no, like not only that, but they're usually based in the city. Like they're not like in the sticks. They're living in a high income area, and like. And the amount of hours they have to put into it, and like the fact that it's for 5 fucking years, and the fact that this is a talent-based job. This is not like some schlub off the street can just pick it up and do it.
Yeah, this is
you
like
have to train for years to be able to do that.
And so new animators in the industry typically leave within the first 3 years, like a majority, because of these conditions. It's like really hard to keep it. It's like constantly a rotating like door of like talent just to kind of keep the whole industry afloat because of these conditions. And that's what the whole new anime making system project is about. So normally they've been assisting those new animators with living situation, which is what the dormitory project is for, but this is like a whole new scale. They've turned to Kickstarter basically.
Who is they?
I will have to find who is behind it, because I know it's behind the same people who did the Dormitory project, but let me do a quick Google search to see if their organization has a specific name, because I kind of just...
Okay, well, while you do that, I'm going to bring it back to like how this relates to the games industry, because honestly, the games industry has this problem too.
Yeah, go ahead and keep talking. I'll pull this up.
Where you have these projects, because games are basically projects. They're 2 to 3 to 4 year projects, ideally. And what you do is these big companies oftentimes hire a specific amount of staff for a project. They hire their graphics designer, their texture designer, their storyboard writer, so on and so forth. And then when the project ends, they just cut whoever is considered fat. They trim the fat of the team, and whoever was the top performing gets to stay behind and gets to stay on the staff and go on to the next immediate project. And whoever was considered the fat in this case just kind of gets discarded. And you see the real big fallout with cases like Telltale Games and what else? Like any major closing for a video game company, you see this sort of outcome, and people don't realize it. And like, it gets a lot of it doesn't get a lot of attention, because it's the entertainment industry and people would rather just be entertained by it. But B, just because like people, I've sat down and talked to people about this who are not in the critique, or they're not attached to entertainment as deeply as we are, and they go, but these people are working their dream jobs, they should just be happy to be. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, these people need to eat. These people need to have a livelihood. These people, just because they're doing what they love doesn't mean they deserve to be treated like shit, and shouldn't deserve to like earn a family based income. Like, it's ridiculous. Hopefully that tangent gave you enough time to look up.
It did. Honestly, I've been on the page. It's from the creator of the Kickstarter is a guy named Jun Sugawara, who's the head of an organization called MPO, but he's also part of a group called just simply the Animator Supporters.
Okay.
But they are the ones who are backing. They, amongst a couple other people in this Anime Supporters MPO group, are the ones who are backing this new anime making system project 2020, and it's mostly Japanese based group, but they're scouting a lot of Western talent to help push the Kickstarter, because Kickstarter is much more of a, I want to say, Western concept. Like, obviously you and I very inherently know Japanese studios have tapped into the Kickstarter potential.
Yeah, that's a plate.
But looking at the project is basically in hopes of the physical payout of it is going to be, it's a music video project that's attempting to pay animators fairly in attempts to strive for a better work environment in the anime industry. They're looking to basically, as a long-term goal, so this is the short-term goal, is to make this music video using dudes from, like, I forget the names of all the musicians, but I know Donna Burke off of hand. I know the motherfucker that did the Pokemon. I Want to Be the Very Best singer. A couple of other.
They're just pulling anybody. They're just pulling all the Western talent that is so heavily connected to Japan. Basically,
for the music element, from the actual animation studio talent. There's a lot of. They've already quoted a lot of Japanese like key animators and stuff like that for people who are on board for this concept and they're very aware of these issues. Obviously, Jun Sugawara at the head of them, and so The idea is to not only first make this music video that pays animators fairly, which would be hopefully 2 to 4 times more than what that is, what the industry standard that I already outlined for you guys is, because like normally again that's like a 90,000 yen monthly, which again is like $810 American, which again equals out to a salary of like 850, 860 a buck, like an hour, which is not great for animators that are starting in the industry in their 20s, which, as you mentioned again, more likely than not here, that are probably living in inner city, homes that are very expensive. And I can tell you from being in Japan, from being in Tokyo, and from looking up living conditions in both Tokyo and Seoul for travel and for long-term travel, it's like
for making your escape plan.
For making my escape plan after Trump 2020.
In case of Trump the remix.
It is not cheap. It really, I mean, you can go cheap, but the living conditions are intense. I found some incredibly cheap, like admittedly very cheap living in both Seoul and Tokyo, but they're not conditions that I would say a young American would very much used to, let alone even a very stalwart, work hard Japanese youth would be very accustomed to. Like we're talking, I don't know, like 50 square feet like of living space in these like bottom barrel things. But
okay, so the point of this Kickstarter is to bring more awareness and to try to pressure some of these like animation studios to
the idea is
pay them better.
The immediate thing is to obviously do a project that allows these animators to be paid at a fair wage, and then on top of that, the long-term goal would be to set up their own animation studio, courting as much talent as they can, on the premise of you will get paid a fair wage. So that is something that I think is a rather noble goal for an industry that we obviously enjoy, and just in general, for if you have artists in your life that are always obviously seeking more fair pay for their compensation for their work, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and I just thought I'd shout it out. So
yeah, sure.
Something you guys
say the name one more time just to get it clear and crisp.
The the new anime making system project 2020. Google it. It's on Kickstarter. They've already reached their goal. They're currently at 56,827. Already passed their $47,000 goal with nearly 1,000 backers. And the Kickstarter just started a few days ago. It still has 26 days to go. You have plenty of time. I'm definitely going to throw a few bucks in there at some point and disclose them out. But definitely check it out at the very least. If you love anime, if you love artists in general, I feel like it's something worthwhile to investigate and to support, and it sounds like a really worthwhile project.
That's great. All right. Well, we covered a lot. Did you have another show to cover? Because I have one more.
Yeah, I mean, I could pop off a few things, but obviously, we're already stretched out into the 48-minute mark, so we'll go ahead and...
it's okay.
Yeah. Well, for me, the only thing else I wanted to mention was a few things that are currently watching. I mean, I know that I had mentioned to you I'd seen the Evangelion 3.0 movie trailer, but I haven't.
Okay, so here's the thing. Did you see those first two movies?
So I haven't. I've heard mixed, mostly good things.
Yeah, I've heard mostly bad things.
Interesting. We're in different circles.
Well, I think it's, you know what it is. It's people who loved that original series are like, this thing shits all over it, and for people who have kind of gotten sick of that original series, they're like, this fixes everything and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I've got people who are very reverent, like Alex and like other people from like my friends in Baltimore, and so far as I know, they like it. I feel like it's probably because it is a little bit of a refresh, a remix of it, but I'll have to get more in depth. I couldn't say personally. Again, they probably listen to this podcast maybe hopefully one day and tell me that I'm full of dog shit, and they're like, no, we hate that thing.
I mean, I definitely, I haven't even finished the series, but I've just heard it's like, because Amano kind of hates Neo Genesis Evangelion
at this point.
He kind of hates his own production, but he's like Alan Moore. He just hates everything.
I love Alan Moore, man. that could be a whole other podcast about Alan Moore.
Let's not get onto that tangent. But Amano, like, I'm saying the right name, right? Yeah, it's Amano. But he made Shin Godzilla and all that stuff, and like, yeah, it's great to see that he's finally finishing this freaking movie series.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I had a little slot in my notes saying like mention movie stuff, so it was basically just that, and that the Demon Slayer movie just like obliterated the box office in Japan, and I'm like, I'm glad to see.
Wait, they opened in theaters?
Yeah. That's another thing I wanted to mention. Like, they actually, you can see Japanese fans in the movie theater doing it up over there. So, like, that's, for me, a beautiful thing. Like, in general, because, like, their COVID numbers are down in general. They're very cleanly society.
True.
Way more than us.
Yeah, you're right.
And in general, I feel like the movie industry needs shit like that. Like, desperately right now. Desperately. Could not especially with like the decisions that Disney are making right now to kind of put more of a focus on like streaming services and like the overall industry as a whole, the theater industry, feeling that's like an affront.
Yeah,
that, like, I mean, this is like going to deter theater going even further. They're like, so
true. I mean, I don't know. I would like. I guess we're already so long to this podcast, but the future of the theater industry is so interesting to me because I never want them to go away, but at the same time, I rarely have the drive to go to them.
Look, I'm a creature of convenience too. Like, in general, if you put it out in front of me in a screen, I will fucking watch it. I don't give a shit.
But I guess the point I would make is more like, because of the way that the theater industry is set up, because of the way the theater industry is set up, that's the reason why we get so many films that are the same over and over and over again. It's only because of the streaming industry and the niche markets that are somewhat gaining traction now that we've been able to get some of the best stuff in entertainment.
That's very true too. And I feel like, but on the other coin of that as well, not to play like forever devil's advocate, but it's like there are certain experiences in the theater that I would only want to have in the theater, and I know you feel the same way, where it's like,
yeah, and that's why I say the future of it's interesting to me.
That's why.
But and even then, to play devil's advocate,
Cubed.
There are some times where I have been in a crowd that is the audience for this film, and I've cringed so hard.
Yeah, we could do this all day. Yeah, the pros and cons of this dance.
Yeah, so we won't get too much into that.
Yeah,
but
maybe another time.
It's nice. It's good for Demon Slayer that it did really well at the box office. No shit. It's really popular overall. Art style is still fantastic, and that new character design kind of fits with everything else. I still kind of hate it.
I think that this is one.
I shouldn't say hate.
This
it.
is
I
one.
feel like it's in the Shield hero category where it's the things that it does wrong, in my opinion, just like scar it, and I just can't look past it.
Yeah, you're definitely in your punk contrarian mood, and which is fine because your points are valid. Your points are valid. Don't get me wrong. I definitely feel like it is probably the most overhyped shonen series I've seen in years.
Yeah.
Because I'm not denying 1A that it's a quality product. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
There's a ton of Demon Slayer things that I like, but it is it is lauded by people in my circles, and I'm like, you guys are way out of your depth in saying like this is like this is not the second coming of anime.
This is not the
Christ.
second coming of Berserk.
Yeah, this is not like revelatory. Like, this is just a good shonen series. This is not like either comparing it to like fucking like this is better than Bebop, and I'm like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, what the fuck you mean?
Okay, we should move on.
I'm like, it may be better for you, person.
Yeah, exactly. I never mind when somebody's like, I hate Cowboy Bebop, and I'm like, I feel you. Like,
yeah.
Because I just know your taste at that point, because like they'll immediately say, if they are a person that can speak their mind clearly, they'll bring up the fact that they don't enjoy a story that doesn't have an overall plot structure, and I'm like, that's fine. Like, if that's just not your shtick, that's cool. I'm okay with that.
But you said you had another anime you wanted to mention before we wrap up today.
Oh, sure. We should wrap up probably. The other show that I watched on Hulu, that is also simulcast, is Wandering Witch: The Journey of Elena. I saw the title. I saw the title card as well, and I was like, but I need another show to watch, so fuck it. And animation is solid. I didn't bring up the studio name, and I apologize for that. But
don't worry about it.
It's very, the character models are very expressive. Your main protagonist is a 14-year-old witch, so kind of like cute anime girl style, with general great fantasy medieval style characters. But what made the show at least pique my interest a little bit is that she is an overachiever, and this plot is that she passes her like apprentice exam at the age of 14, which is incredibly young.
Yeah.
And because of that, nobody wants to take her as an apprentice.
Yeah.
so nobody wants her at all. And so the last person who takes her is this like random witch in the forest. And for the first 30 days of her apprenticeship, the witch just kind of like teases her and like doesn't teach her any magic and just makes her do like the chores around the house and shit that. And then at the end of those 30 days, she's like, okay, let's have a test. And she's like, what test? And this witch just starts beating the shit out of her with the magic. Like mercilessly. To the point that the poor girl is just like in the rain crying. And when she's like defeated and crying, the other witch is like, wait, no, wait, I didn't mean to make you cry. I'm sorry.
This is how I teach. Come back.
And it's so like, I don't. There's a minor twist to that episode, which I don't know if I want to give away.
Yeah, don't.
But it reminds me of because I coach for Street Fighter now, and you meet a lot of people when you're coaching these kind of hobby things, especially for something that's as individually demanding as a fighting game, in my opinion. And you get these folks that are like that think very highly of themselves. They usually do very well early on. And you just beat the shit out of them. And because up until that point, what they usually are is like they will dismiss everything as like, oh, this person's just, playing incorrectly, this, that, and the other. And then you just beat the living shit out of them. And they're just realize. Like, and then they get their fragile little egos broken. And it's interesting to see how people react in that way. Everybody breaks down in different regards.
I mean, you gotta do that.
And I don't take any pleasure. I didn't mean to pause there. I don't take any pleasure in that.
I don't take
in
any
that
pleasure
in that experience, but it is fascinating nonetheless. And having your protagonist for the show kind of have that moment in that first episode was really solid. That's what you need if you want your characters to be interesting. You need them to have a miniature arc in that first episode that establishes how they react to the environments around them. Perfect example being like, this is a movie, but it happens in the first 20 minutes of it, so it works. The first Star Wars movie, you understand who Luke is by his actions within the first arc that he experiences in the first 20 minutes of the movie. So that happens in this first episode, and I will give the show another couple episodes to see if it continues with that quality.
Yeah, you want to have like,
and I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised because I looked at it and I was like, this title's crap. This character design is moe as shit, and I'm probably gonna hate this. And I didn't. So good for you. Well, gold star.
Used to the pleasant surprises of the world.
Yeah. So Wandering Witch, give it a shot. It's on Hulu. I don't know if it's on any other services, but it's a decent show.
Yeah, something to look out for at the very least. Gotta always take what you can out here.
Beautifully animated too. Actually reminds me of Sound Symphonia, I think. What was the name of that?
Oh, okay.
One where like that, where like the background's not doing anything particularly well, but they're always like focusing on the characters' very expressive faces.
Okay.
And like it does that very well. So
that's what's up. Well, leave it out there for y'all to pick it up. And as you mentioned, I think we were on the tail end of this. We reached almost an hour. Good chunk of podcast today.
We covered a lot of stuff.
So if you stuck with us through this episode, again, thank you for watching and listening as always. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment if you're listening to this on YouTube. We always appreciate it. And we've got the Twitters. What are the Twitters called again?
The Twitter for the channel is @the Otaku Remix on twitter.com. Honestly, if you want to send a DM there for a question that you have for us, feel free. The DMs are open on that Twitter channel.
Yep, and on the Instagram as well.
And if you have a question you'd like us to answer on the podcast, I wouldn't mind doing that. I think that'd be a cool end show segment if we can get them. But yeah, so just add us there.
Yeah, once we start piling up any sort of engagement from you guys, as far as like on Twitter or Instagram or whatever the heck, if we start getting some Q&A stuff, we'd love to do that one day. So go ahead and keep that in mind if you ever have anything you want to talk about or you have questions about the anime industry. We're constantly peering around for stuff. If there's something that you're curious about, feel free to shout it out in the comments, in the DMs. But that's all we've had for today. So as always, have a good day, have a good life. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next time.